my producer. Pull from the hip for a fifth, I'm the shooter. Dog, I do ya. But the two don't discriminate, cause I shoot the guy next to ya. I can see right through.
It's so controversial here. Can't believe I'm gonna say this. In my opinion, I think we're still slaves.
Mentally, I can see.
Oh my God, it's funny you said that.
No, let me just rock this. Let me just rock this. I think we're still slaves, and the reason why is that this is how I compare it. Us, we're the field, right? We're still subjected to police brutality. You know, we get hit, you know, we get put in line, but we're working to try to make it in this country. Our celebrities, those are the house slaves, right? You know, they get preferential treatment. They're less likely to maybe get caught up in police brutality. And we're getting, I just feel like we're getting used, man, you know, and I don't see why we don't see this, you know, and I don't know if I'll keep this in here, but, you know, because I'm going to go on to another topic real quick, just to make a parallel, is that, you know, with this music industry, man, and this rap music, you know, if you think about it, mostly Caucasian people are getting paid off the pain, death, and stories from the inner cities. And like you guys said, with when we had the topic about the N-word, you know, you can't tell me, you can't call me or talk about black on black crime when people of Caucasian ethnicity are getting paid from and making millions and billions of dollars off of it, normalizing it. And then we had a comment on there that says it's sad to see black people defending, you know, Morgan Wallen. And I think it's sad that black people are not speaking up or speaking out about the fact that this is what it is. You know, who cares if he said the N-word? You know what? Because at the end of the day, most black people, and again, I don't even know who this guy is. I didn't know who he was until you told me about him, Vince. So, you know, if he says the N-word, he knows we're in a society now where he knows that that is an issue. But don't take it away. And the reason why I do agree with you, Vince, don't take it away from him. Let the people take it away from him. And the people that still support him, then we know what they are. And that's the end of it. But we shouldn't enter that business. We shouldn't care. Again, and then we talk about the N-word and all of that. And you talk about how it comes from a place of hate and all that. But I don't know that even matters anymore. If I ever get called that, I don't care. Guess what? Most likely the person who called me that, I'm doing better than you. You know what I mean? Like, because that shows your ignorance. You know, so I don't care what somebody says. What I care about is the fact that people are being used, man. Our people are being used in this country, and it's still happening to this day. You want to talk about, it's just the landscape has just changed. The visuals have changed. You know, we're not picking cotton, and we're not getting whipped by overseers or anything of that nature. So that's why I just get so passionate about it, is because I don't know, like I said, I see this view of the world, and it's just like, you know, we have so much to offer, but yet we're always taken for granted. What's going on, everybody? We back with the I Ain't Heard That podcast, and we got a new segment today where we're going to be doing covering the NFL with one of our former guests, Marcus Gildersleeve. I'm going to go ahead and introduce him in a second. But first off, I just want to thank everybody for the support that we've been getting over the past couple of days. We've grew our channel, you know, about 20-something, 30-something subscribers. Videos have been doing very, very well, you know, considering our size. So I just want to thank everybody that out there that's been supporting us and following us and putting the likes on the video. So, you know, if you are new around here, please just go ahead and subscribe. You know, like the videos if we are entertaining you or giving you information. Also, I'm thinking about maybe doing some type of incentive to keep this going, you know, because we, you know, as YouTube, the bar of entry is very low, but to start being monetized and actually, you know, making some money on this, you know, we need to cross that threshold of 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours watched. So I'm gonna get with the guys and see what we can do, maybe some type of giveaway or something like that. Not sure yet, but just keep close to the channel, subscribe, turn on the notifications. And so you'll be able to get all the content that we put out. So today we're going to be talking about the NFL and the use, excuse me, of race norming, basically using race to determine test, and with the NFL, they're using it in regards to cognitive testing and paying out these players for the CTE and dementia. So again, like I said, we're going to bring on our former guest, Marcus Gildersleeve. How you doing today, man?
Doing fine. How you guys doing this morning?
Blessed, man. Blessed. Glad to have you here, man.
Marcus, what's going on, my guy?
Nothing much, man. It's good to see all you guys again.
For sure.
Sir, now it's gonna be a regular thing.
Right.
And what makes me happy is, you got a lot of guys on YouTube and on these podcasts talking football. You can look at them and they've never obviously played. We've got somebody who's played and knows the game. So I'm appreciative of that.
Right, and I'm excited about it because, like I said, we looked around, did a couple interviews, if you will, and we said, well, wait a minute, let's reach back out to Marcus, man, see if what he got going on, and he was much obliged to do it. And again, I appreciate you, man, for coming on and imparting your knowledge to us and to the world, So again, we're glad to have you on, man.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you guys. It's a double-edged sword for me. It's a great opportunity to fellowship with some intelligent brothers doing something positive. And I always like to talk football and sports and politics and life. I view myself as very conscientious. I have an opinion. I don't mind being disagreed with, or challenged on my views. So, this gives me an opportunity to start my Saturday morning off pretty stimulated and positive, So
right
I'm all
on.
about it.
Yeah, we might have to change that. I'm not a morning person, man. I'm over here tired because I don't know what right now, man. But yeah, definitely. All right, so let's get into the topic, man. What do you think about that, Marcus? Is that something that you've heard of or seen?
Yeah, well, the issue at hand with the players and the injury and they use the race norming, and it's easy to polarize it and just make it that type of issue. I will say this at the very beginning. The NFL is a business and they make decisions on money. And it just so happens that 70% of the people that are helping them make that money are Black, And so when so there's a gray area there where it is race. And race norming is discriminatory. So I think it skews it. So when, with the race norming, Blacks are predisposed to dementia and mental illness, from studies, compared to their white counterparts. So, just in a nutshell, I just kind of seen it as Roger Goodell is charged with managing the money. He doesn't want, if 70% of your employees are a certain race, you're going to try to figure out a way to not pay all of them when they're coming in there with disability claims. Because the one figure I found that was very interesting is 96% of the brains tested of NFL players tested positive for CTE. So if 96% of them were tested and they passed, that's almost 100% rate. So you're gonna have, all those guys coming and they're gonna get that. They're gonna get that payment. So I Roger Goodell. A lot of those people are very intelligent, and I just think it just came down to them finding a way to kind of try to cut their losses on some of that money. That's kind of brutal. And it seems very simple. That's not a really in-depth explanation for it, but when almost every issue there is money. And not to change the subject, Colin Kaepernick, that was a money issue. There's no way it couldn't be if they can backpedal and completely reverse his stance on the issue, because he was forced to by society, because after Colin Kaepernick, there was 3, 4, 5 more incidents in a couple months period, and the nation was up in arms. So I just for me, I was telling Vince, when I was a senior in college, and this is I was a senior in college and I was in a graduate policy class. I don't even know how they let me in it. I wasn't even supposed to be in the class. And I wrote like a 15-page paper paralleling plantations and slavery with college football programs and NFL teams. This was in 2000. I wrote 15-page paper with no references. It was just my whole experience playing college football and just paralleling it. And it's a money grab. And a lot of times when you make your money, you got to find ways to keep it. They know those guys get injured, from shoulders to heads to knees. How many years was it where they were letting Brett Favre take those pills? Now, you know what I mean? So they're going to say they care, but it's a business. And when you do business, you do have people that there's waste on the side of the road and you just keep on going, So if you guys want a little bit more, a lot of that was a little vague and broad, but that was kind of just like my overview of the whole situation. The first thing I thought, my first thought when I watched the video is, it's just money. It just so happens that 70% of the people are Black, just like racism and crime. People say Black people do crime. Yeah, but it just so happens that most of the poor people are Black, and there is a direct correlation in poverty and crime. You know what I'm saying? So it's like socioeconomical in that regard, just to use that as an analogy.
Something that I found interesting that you said, tell them a little bit, when you said you delved into Roger Goodell's background, his degree. And that interesting.
Yeah, when I went to college, my degree was the easiest degree I could get, and I went there to play football. I wish I would have got an economics degree, a business degree, an engineering degree, but I just was looking at Roger Goodell, and it was just coincidental. I had been listening to some audibles about economics and to how to think like an economist. Well, Roger Goodell's background in education is economics. And then if you guys have the time, and you may already have an economics degree, but just listen to the perspectives that economists, is that how you say that? Or people in that field think about things, because just also in regards, he was awarded it's called the Walter Hudson Baker Degree for Excellence in Economics. And I can't break down economics for you, but just, you always lose something. For example, I'm on this podcast now, so I'm losing, like your guy's losing sleep. You know what I'm saying? There's a risk and a reward for everything that you do. And a lot of times that's the perspective they take in decision making. So for example, Roger Goodell with initially the kneeling, Roger Goodell is responsible for the health and wellness and the money making of that whole shield in that NFL. Well, damn, Kaepernick was costing them some damn money. You got the president going against the kneeling. You've got a certain demographic of people going against the kneeling. They don't want to put it on TV. It's costing people money. So he's got to denounce it. And then there was one portion in that little thing I was listening to, and they were talking about how it's not an exact science, and they try to figure out the efficiency. And a lot of times, some people or economists will make decisions that's better for a particular group, because it doesn't really coincide well with the society or a social decision, because it might not be the best decision for the group. And I was thinking that kneeling decision, or the stance that they took as the leader of the NFL, was not the best decision for the nation or for the whole of the NFL. 70% of your employees are African Americans. So those guys couldn't be going to work being happy. The only thing that making them happy was that money. So Roger Goodell's decision on that couldn't have been a rational decision. It was an economic decision for the money for a polarized group, but it backfired on him. It backfired because in society that year, they choked the other guy out. They put the knee on the other guy's neck. Another incident happened, and now he's got to go. Now you have local governments denouncing it, so he's got to follow suit. Finally, LeBron James or some guys stood up and put their money and reputations at risk. So he had to follow suit. And then I just thought that was interesting because when you like the CTE deal, you know, how can you deny a guy who has documented head injuries help? I'm just not money, just help. It just so happens that these guys are looking for money for their help and they're looking for compensation, but I'm gonna just call it help. Well, they deny them. My question would be, well, once you deny their claim, what do they do after that? Do they find alternative measures? Okay, you don't. What I'm trying to say is, okay, you don't qualify for the lifelong retirement boost that you're going to get another $100,000 a month. Well, what do they offer you next? Are you just back out there on the street doing nothing, and you need help, and now you're there with your family, and you can't remember what happened last week, or is it just like run of the mill? You come in here, you don't qualify, next in line, you know? So, but
isn't that like the basis of all insurance companies? And I'm just asking that because myself, I went through a claim with a job. I had to have knee surgery. The doctor told me I was out for 6 weeks. They told me if I didn't come back in 4 weeks, they were going to let me go. You know, so the insurance company, in order not to pay, is always looking for a way to exclude you. Isn't that basically the same thing that the NFL is trying to do? Find a way to exclude so that they don't have to pay all that money?
Well, I think it's a business, and I think it was just, I think that's how good of an organization they are. They're not a $1 billion business for nothing. I think that they have the ability and the people to fine tooth comb and find any and every way to be as efficient as they can in every aspect, from recruiting to payouts and money to insurance to profiling personalities on what type of people to recruit to do this type of thing, to hiring investigators to do your background information to try to predict what you will be. You know, are you going to come in here with $10 million and become a criminal? You know, it's the, I don't want to call it demand, but I mean, their capabilities are almost endless on what they can do, or who they can reach, and what they can accomplish. And I just want to parallel it to, you know, it's the NFL, but to me, every time a minority gets in a position to where they may be in control, or they may end up being the leader, or they may be the most powerful at it, Tiger Woods in golf, teachers trying to become principals, people trying to become administrators, coaches trying to be coordinators, coaches becoming head coaches. Look at the guy at Kansas City. It starts to reveal what we already know, the systematic oppression and things in place, the privilege of just assuming that these people are supposed to stay in these positions and not excel and reap the benefits of what we've create for them. You know, once our people, and I'm saying minorities, get to a point to where they want to reap the benefits of what they've put sweat and blood in, they don't just want to be the backbone. You know, they want to, you know, they want to lead, you know, or be the leader or have the ability to do it. It becomes a problem. I've experienced, there's levels to it all. You know, I'm not some big name coach, but I've experienced bureaucracy and being in situations of working with guys where we're all the staff, and I'm helping this guy, but you know, he gets the title, or somehow he moves on and gets the raise. You know what I'm saying? So it's, and then, you know, and on other bigger levels, I've seen it on TV. Look at Kansas City's offensive coordinator. How is he not hired? How is he not hired somewhere? Like, how is it why wasn't he hand plucked? You know, and just
talking about Eric Bieniemy.
Yeah, Eric Bieniemy. See, the thing is, we can get back to the football CTE thing and get real specific on it, but it just brought a lot of things up. Like, look at, and somebody will watch this and will have a different opinion, but just look at affirmative action. That was created years ago. Like, when's the last time somebody talked about that? No, that was created. That was a pacifier. And that was really a pacifier for your, in my opinion, for your higher echelon educated people who were up there fighting for it. But in reality, affirmative action probably only affected, and I don't know really, but if you look at your minority population, how many of our cohorts did it actually help? How many of our cohorts were in positions to where affirmative action was going to be applied to them and them applying for a job. Probably 10%, unless you were applying for a university job or a manager job or something like that. Other than that, these other jobs were just apply and they just hire you, you know, and then I personally have gone on a token interview. I've gone to a job where I was told I was not going to get the job, but they want to meet you. And maybe it'll help you in the future. And I did go because I was an aspiring coach. But in reality, I just knew I was a token interview because I satisfied some federal regulation so they can hire the guy that they had hand plucked. So how come on the other foot, Eric Bieniemy, how come Bieniemy isn't just hand plucked for a position when obviously he is one of the best in the game at this time right now? So I just think that CTE and that guy bringing that up is just another feather, and the feather in the hat is usually a positive analogy, but it's just another instance of that's just the way things are systematically in place, and you have people in place who think that some races are inferior. They're taking cognitive tests. They take, they do those Wonderlic tests. They got those guys' scores. Basically, you retire from the NFL. You're saying you're forgetting things. They do a cognitive test. They look at your prior scores, and they're saying, well, no, you don't have any problems. You were a dumbass from the get-go.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so the thing with race, Norman, or using race when it comes to testing and health topics, it's not anything new. Black people are, more likely to get diabetes, high blood pressure.
Yes.
All these things. I mean, these things have been, in our society, forever, genetics, right? And if your mom has it, most likely you're going to get it, or dad has it, you're going to get it, whatever it may be. But I think what becomes an issue with this one in regards to brain functionality is that there's always been this, talk on for white supremacists and people like that, is that they're superior or their brains work better than those of minorities. And then I think that is the issue that is coming about this, when you talk about eugenics and how, that's more of a Hitler thing, but it also wasn't here in the United States, but it's more like we're superior than them and our brains work better. And that's basically what they're trying to say, or that's how some people take this and argue that this isn't right because it doesn't always take into consideration everyone, just because of you do a test, it doesn't necessarily mean that person who may be a minority is going to suffer from that same fate. I mean, are the probabilities high? Yes. But when you're talking about someone's brain and then you're using that to deny them, to pay them, for, because I believe what this is with, I forget, I'm going to look it up now, but there was two players, I forgot their names, but, they were being declined ever since the CTE thing came about, the claims. And so they're saying, well, wait a minute, I'm having the same head injuries and all these as our white counterparts. You're trying to tell me that my brain is going to deteriorate faster than that of a white man? Yes. And so it becomes an issue because of that. And like I said, because of the history of this, and I think that's where the problem lies at.
Okay, three things that really come to mind that I want to know, that I'm asking. One, who's watching the NFL? Who monitors this? Are they just rogues? Two, can they use college athletics as an scapegoat? Well, this guy took plenty of licks from college too. Is anybody monitoring this? How much damage was actually done in college? Why is the NFL responsible for it? And then three, how many times, and honestly, and I hate to say this, but that you've seen an interview and you're like, that guy really went to college? How much, I'm serious. Kids are being passed just because they play sports. So it's not like they're the most intellectual guys to begin with. And now they're trying to use that against them when that's been the very thing that you recruited and used, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I'll try to remember all three questions. They have the Players Association, which I'm sure at this day and time is much better than it used to be. And it was created to protect players. So the NFL just couldn't completely take advantage of them. I'm sure they have their own doctors and lawyers and things like that. In regards to college kids going to the league, you know, they do get those guys as prior medical records. They do have their background. They know how intelligent these kids are allegedly supposed to be. I mean, they know their drug test results. They know their family history, so they already have that on these young men. I would say that it's probably not as bad as it used to be, just because of the internet. I'm sure everybody in college didn't score 25 on their ACT, but I would think a lot of times, a lot of these kids are a little bit, they're more intelligent than and more conscious than before. Some of those guys aren't your orators and can't stand up in front of a audience and give a speech, but you know, intelligence, you know, and that's your typical way of you know, there's a baseline. You just assume this guy's intelligent, but some of these people who didn't grow up in that environment are very intelligent people. They just might not speak in orator and give it out the way I would or you would or somebody else will. They've got great common sense. They've got great street sense. They have great work ethic, because they've got to have, there's some level of high intelligence there for them to make it through that level and be able to satisfy the social requirements that they have up at that level as well too. And then
because I'm saying, like Richard Sherman, if Richard Sherman was to start forgetting things and claim brain injury, I mean, it would be easy to see because this guy's highly intelligent. But let's go back in history. A guy like Dexter Manley, this dude's in the NFL, come through college and could not read.
Yeah, well, yeah. See that back in the day, you know, I don't know how good the players' union was. You know, things.
So again, who's watching the NFL? Because I mean, quite honestly, if you're part of the players' union, could you possibly be in bed with the NFL? Because ultimately, that's where your pay is coming from, isn't it?
Yeah, well, the NFL's got, one thing is, I'm sure they're 2 steps ahead of everyone else with their doctors and studying. They've got to protect their product, for one. One thing they're doing is, this is the one thing, just look at both sides of it. Okay, let's say they do approve, everybody that comes through there gets the money. Now you've got a epidemic. Now football's too dangerous. Now they ain't playing. You know, if 96% of them test positive for CTE, at some point you would think somebody's gonna say, or the guys that retire and go to get help or compensation for their brain injuries, they gotta find a way to get those numbers down. Because if not, it's going to become a social issue. And in football, it's already, they've already making changes. They can't practice as much anymore. They don't have as many games, can't have as many contact practices. And then at some point, they're trying to put out that fire that football's that dangerous, so they don't ruin the damn league, okay? Excuse me. That's why they have all these rules now.
Vince, let me ask you this. So another problem that I have with this is, okay, you put these guys out here and you know that there's an issue. You've admitted it. And now you want to start denying them based on race because of some tests or studies that you've taken and said that, you know, Black people have cognitive deterioration quicker than those of their counterparts of being or a white male. But that's like kind of ignoring the fact that, hey, you're still being put in a position as to where you're accelerating that. I mean, that's kind of like saying for a police officer, like, Vince, what do you get, like, if you killed in a line of duty? You get some kind of special package, right? Or there's something that's usually
they give your family a flag and you get this great send off. That's pretty much it. They might get the insurance money, and the police department takes up a collection for you.
Right. So for the insurance money, let's just say the insurance, and this may even happen, which is another travesty, but like, say the insurance company says, well, no, they were in that dangerous position, so we're not going to pay out because, you know, I mean, that's kind of like what they're saying, you know, it's like.
Well, actually it happens all the time.
Does it? Okay. So, I mean, again.
Had a police officer denied because he wasn't wearing a seatbelt and he was in a pursuit, but by law, we're not required to wear our seatbelts as a police officer, but he wasn't wearing a seatbelt, so his family was denied the claim. And that's what I'm saying. Most insurance companies, that's their whole thing. They want to deny your claims so that, that's more money.
Right, but the thing with the NFL is that they chose to adopt this. They didn't have to. They just said, "Oh, well," from based on what the articles I was reading, and that they essentially said, "Well, if we can get out of it," and again, like Marcus's point, 70% of the league is black, and you're going to adopt this. That just seems a little.
But look at it again. How long? Okay, so now they're saying cognitive, the white counterparts as opposed to the black males or the people of color. But I mean, we've seen this before. Blacks can't run as fast. Blacks can't run long distance. We can only sprint. We have different muscles. There's always it's when it comes to white superiority or things of that nature. They always find some way to, I don't want to say put us down, but now cognitively, that's why blacks couldn't play quarterbacks for the longest, because we could not think as fast, or that's what they thought. We couldn't read defenses and change the offense. But Doug Williams proved that wrong. And then now you've got
right.
more black quarterbacks,
And that's the point, is that it's not all, when as soon as something doesn't become all, especially when you're dealing with, especially now that that playing football can lead to these type of injuries into your brain, and to simply come in and say that to me is just not, it's not right. And it leads me to my out of box thought. Why isn't it that, and I'm not speaking segregation or anything of that nature, but we got too many damn millionaires and a few billionaires to not just start something on our own. And I mean, at the end of the day, the product is what people are going to watch. And I'm not saying an all black league or anything like that, but why isn't it that some of these athletes are retired and all of that? I just don't understand why they just don't start their own thing, something that's more player driven. And I don't get it. I mean, maybe I'm missing something. Maybe it's a little bit more into it. But again, I mean, I think people still watch it, and those who don't want to watch it because of that, then maybe they should be questioned.
I think it's a lot of leg work, and I think we're so used to the norm. And now athletes are making more money than they ever did playing this sport. I believe if it should have happened, it should have stayed like with the ABA and the NBA. You know what I'm saying? Or the major leagues and Negro leagues. It should have stayed back then and then never migrated to one. Because once we migrated to one, now it's kind of hard to, okay, you a billionaire. But a lot of these billionaires and millionaires are not because of their NBA contract, but a lot of endorsement deals they have with Nike, with some of these things that they have. So starting off, Nike might not invest their money in somebody going to start their own league. So now they're broke. I mean, I wouldn't say broke, but now they don't have that steady income that they usually have, if that makes sense.
Well, I think that it would take the largest athlete. I mean, like, say, for instance, I'll just use the NBA. If LeBron took his money and pair with, say, a Jay-Z or P. Diddy or Dr. Dre or whatever, and said, I'm about to start this own league, it would take that type of move for it to work. It's not going to work with the lesser players, right?
That's a great idea. But then the fear of the unknown. Think about it. That first slave. Am I going to run away? Am I going to break free? But what's out there? If I do, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? What am I going to eat? Now I've cut off my entire source, my money maker here that I know is money, in hopes of getting money. I think that's the biggest fear of cutting off your nose to spite your face. Like Skip said, now is Nike going to follow me over here?
But I believe that they will.
But then we have a proven entity with like the Negro Leagues, baseball. They were surviving and prospering. So what did the MLB have to do? Well, we have to bring them in because that's taking money out of our pocket. So it's proven that it can work. It's just the fear of the unknown. Will it work? Do I want to take that chance?
Let me just make one point. I think that we underestimate the power of the people, us that watch it. And I think a best show of that is Dave Chappelle. He just recently released another, and I think that's awesome how he's doing that. Like, he's releasing bits of his comedy pieces on his Instagram. And I don't know if you guys have been keeping up, but he did one where he kind of told the people, hey, don't watch this stuff on Comedy Central. Don't watch it on HBO Max.
Do not watch the Chappelle show. because they're not paying him.
Right.
But
and they did.
now they've come back and paid him.
My
He
point
got
exactly.
his name back. Yes,
exactly.
He got his name back.
And that was done because people stopped watching it. And even he had asked Netflix to take it off, and they took it off. So what I'm saying to you is that we as people are gonna have to support them, and if that happens, I mean, but again, I think a lot of they get paid all this money, but they're getting treated like a lot of these players are getting treated like crap, man.
You say that, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but when Colin Kaepernick was taking that knee, a lot of guys supported him, but how many of them really supported him?
Right.
He's the only one that lost his damn career.
But that's what I'm saying, that they're just stuck in the system, man. I mean,
but everybody's gonna say that I believe in this thing, I'm all about it, but you ain't finna mess up my money.
No,
because everybody's in the, it's kind of, and I think at the box all the time, but it's prevalent, and it's in everything. They pass it. Just look at it like this. Let's use Antonio Brown for an example. He was fired from his job essentially when he was the best in the game at that job. So why was he fired? He was fired because they can now, if I can pay you 10 million, how much money do I have? Now you're the best, but you're the best. Like that almost, I mean, I ain't saying that's what destroyed the Steelers, but their team went down a little bit when they lost Antonio Brown. But they got rid of the best product, one of the best products for that job. And I just think it's simple. He was a distraction. He was voicing his opinion too much. Now, I don't know how much other deviant stuff he might have done that was against team policy. There's probably a little more of it into that, but anytime one of those guys is outspoken and has a problem, they just make them disappear because of the distraction to the money. It's a business.
Yeah.
And it's, to me, it's just twofold. They don't allow us to get up. Very seldom do you become in leadership roles. And if you ever become too loud, we'll take your money, but we're going to pay you enough money to keep you quiet. For example, the American dream, you work hard, we'll give you some more money. So you just keep on coming so we can make our money. Anytime I think that money's going to get disrupted, they'll find a way to get rid of you. Okay. And just with.
I wanted to jump in on this. Okay. For instance, that's a great example. Colin Kaepernick. Okay. How many people actually, yes, lost? He's the only one that lost his job. Now, you mean to tell me that, because I'm in a fraternity, and Skip, I'm in the same fraternity with your brother. So we witnessed this the other day. That bond is tight. If I call your brother and I need something, that's what it is, because we have that bond. Okay. Mike Tomlin is the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He is in the same fraternity that I am. He is in the same fraternity that Colin Kaepernick is in. Why did he not bring Colin Kaepernick in? I agree with your cause, Colin Kaepernick, but I'm not going to risk my money. I'm not going to cut off my ends. I'll fight so much, but there's only a limit.
Well, and that's because the system has them in this type of way where, and in a way, it's kind of just disgusting, to be honest. It's because you can't let people be themselves because they're afraid of losing their financial way. And then what makes it even more disgusting is the fact that, we had this conversation, Vince. If you look at the Black community in regards to living the American dream, right? I mean, because we live in a capitalistic society, the idea, the goal is to make as much money as you can to live a normal life. I mean, because let's think about it. I mean, people say money's not everything, but if you're not making any type of money, you're not living a quality life. You're not getting quality access to education, food, none of this stuff. So if the goal is to make as much money as you can to live a normal life, a quote unquote normal life in America, and then some of the ways that you give our community to get out of it is music, sports, and entertainment. And then now you want to deny these people rights and benefits because of their color, but yet these are the only things that people look to. I mean, in the community, I mean, everybody's trying to play basketball. Everybody wants to try to rap. And when I say, I shouldn't say everybody, but an over majority of Black people or people of minority are you looking for sports, entertainment, music to get out of their situations. You know, that is why I just don't understand why we just don't do our own. I mean, we run sports. I mean, we run a lot of things. I mean, we influence culture, and it's sad. It saddens me that we don't recognize the power that we have.
Let me ask you,
but because of wanting not to upset the balance of things, and you don't want to become considered, oh, you're pro-Black or whatever the case may be. It's just I don't know, man.
I think people have to see it for what it is. It's like right now we're having this discussion and we're thinking socially. We're thinking that sports is good, it builds character, and it does. But when you get to that level, it's a business. They say it stands for not for long. You better get in there and get your damn money so you can try to go raise your family. So then I get to self-preservation. I'm not going to mess up my $10 million. I was raised, you know, a lot of those guys were raised in a house where they lived below the poverty line. They never had nothing like that before. And then you can take the other perspective. They're going to say, well, anybody can do this. If you take the time like I did and work my butt off in my own little world, you can make it too. It's nobody's obligation. It's not my obligation to pull you up, you know? And I don't want to get into slavery and how the Black race was broken down or anything, but I think it goes back to that too. I don't even want to get into that. That's a whole nother subject. But look at Charles Barkley. He did say, I'm not a role model.
Yeah.
Why not? That's what some people are going to say. You're in position to lead this thing. You know, look at Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He been questioned Michael Jordan 20 years ago. It's self-preservation, and like my guy was saying, it's why don't we do it? Well, I think it goes back to self-preservation.
Well, then
I've been in jobs before with other minorities, and some decisions or things that were done, I think they did on self-preservation versus a we thing like, hey, let's be together. Not be together to be against people. Let's just let me scratch your back and you scratch mine. But no, self-preservation, I'm gonna let you fall to the side because it might make me look whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, just Deion Sanders is the polar opposite. He's got on TV and said, this is ridiculous. These kids, look at Boogie Cousins. He went to UK. He got on Instagram and told those big time recruits, hey man, go to a HBCU for your people. And he went to Kentucky. He matured and he got in that big business in NBA, and he saw how much money, because he's what they call your Charlie horse, or he's your third. He got tired of being a thoroughbred that didn't know. Well, now he's a thoroughbred, but at least he knows it. So he's telling them young boys, hey, go somewhere else and let's make money for our people and our institutions.
And that's my point, is that like as long as we, you know, I mean, even in my own life, right? You know, it's just until I don't think that people should either complain about this, because this is going to continue to happen when it comes to this, you know, different discrimination and all of it. It's just going to continue to happen. But you know, if you disrupt it, then the perfect world, or what you consider to be your perfect world, is it's going to continue to keep you in that train of thought. You know, I just don't feel like, as much as we do, as that an NFL player who is Black goes to claim for dementia and is told, well, you have a lower test score, or you come in with a lower test score, so therefore we're able to deny you benefits that you should receive, and you didn't put your blood, sweat, and tears into a business. It's just not right. You know what I mean? Like I said, it's excluding the fact that you've known that this sport will accelerate these type of injuries, brain injuries. We know this. So to just make it a blanket, that's what should happen. It shouldn't matter about what race you are or what test has been shown. It's disgusting, and I really, I didn't even know if I mean, I don't know. We'll see what happened, man. It's just like I said, it's just not a good thing.
I agree with you 100%. You're 100% right. But I mean, let's parallel football with boxing. Most of your product in boxing is what? Black people. We asked that question before the other day. What was the answer that we got from a Caucasian person? Not to put any names out there, but said because the top percent doesn't care about the lower percent. I'm getting my money. I'm not going to jeopardize that so that you can get yours.
Well, another thing that she did, that person did say, was that it was that they're contractors in a sense. So again, there's no formal, it's a one-on-one sport thing. So it's not like a team or anything like that, you know, which is understandable when you're a contractor. I mean, how are we going to unionize? You know, there's not a.
Well, I'll be back and say as well too. I think, like you said, especially in the NFL, we do, and I don't know, they might have this already, but the union. But then even to go back farther than that, okay, so say somebody does come in the NFL with low test scores, keep that documented, and then when stuff like this happen, okay, you were, so for instance, you were at a 12 when you first came into the NFL. Now that you retired and took all these hits, now you at a 9. Something is going on in the brain. You know, even though you had low test scores, they are still steady declining. So at that point, it should be something. I don't know. It should just be something where it could be documented to maybe help that player later on in line, or even like with, I hate to get off topic, but like with Social Security, for instance, you know how many people apply for Social Security and get denied, but then they hire a lawyer. It might take 2 to 3 years, but once they get that lawyer, then bam, now they got Social Security. There should be a process or appealing process in the NFL where you can, you know, appeal those claims, just like in your insurance. Just like you should be able to hire an attorney, but then you got to think on the flip side. If I'm coming to you for this money 9 out of the 10 times, I don't have the money for a lawyer.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's what they're doing.
That's what they're doing.
That's what the two people are doing. They're suing the NFL for it. But
yes, but see, but that's always the case. We're put in hard decisions. We're put in situations where we have to make hard decisions. And again, not to get off topic, but Marcus can probably lend to this. I, you know, when we interviewed my son, part of the pride was because not only is he playing college baseball, but he had to sacrifice. I could have sent him to plenty of other schools, but when he told you he did the research on Clarksville Academy, what he found out was that school was established in 1970 because people at Clarksville High did not want their white kids going to school with black kids. So they created a school to separate, to segregate, and then blacks forced to get in. And when I went there, I told him, I said, you're going to experience some stuff, but I need you to be like, from the MLB, my man, first black, Jackie Robinson. I need you to be Jackie Robinson. You're going to endure some things. You're going to go through some things, but the benefits are going to outweigh the negatives. You'll be better prepared for college. You'll be, you'll be fast tracks in the connections you can make. And, you know, so he had to sacrifice being with his people, some of his friends, to leave and go to Clarksville Academy, if that makes sense. We're put in hard situations because we're trying to succeed. We have to make choices. Well, and some people are leaving others behind.
See, the thing is, now this is the problem. As I said before, Goodell is in charge of running that business. We are addressing this issue from a social standpoint, from being fathers and caring about people, thinking people should be compensated for when things happen wrong to them. You have to realize you are replaceable in the NFL. Once you're not producing the product, you're a liability. All those guys making those claims are liabilities. So what do I have to do with liabilities? Like insurance companies, you have to limit them so you can continue to make the money. It is a business. And you know what? I don't know Roger Goodell personally. I don't know those doctors. I don't think they pick individuals out and say, no, we're not just gonna, I don't think he said, oh, they're black, we're not gonna compensate them. I think it's more of just the efficiency of the business. Knowledge is power. They were trying to use science. They did the science is, you know, they've got to, if you look at the numbers, Blacks are predisposed, or the numbers are higher on dementia. So that's the way they justify it. Is it racial? Yes. But do the numbers say it? Yes. Is it wrong? In my opinion, yes. But if you go back to what his job and his purpose is on a daily basis, it is on the health and wellness of the NFL and that business. And everybody's replaceable. Look at the Patriots. They tried to replace Tom damn Brady. You know what I'm saying? Antonio, they replace them. And so when they're not playing anymore, they're just a liability. And then when you got 2,000 guys or 1,000 guys coming in trying to get compensated, that's going to cost them money. He doesn't want some free-for-all system to where every player that gets out is all of a sudden wants some money. Well, you see, so I understand his perspective. I'm not justifying it by any means. I'm just acknowledging that they're not taking the perspective you're taking on looking at this issue. It's a business issue for them, but then when it gets in the public and in the paper, then they have to try to take this perspective, and they have to take both. Okay, how are we going to protect our business? And then how are we going to satisfy these people so they'll be quiet? Because basically this is like a little baby revolution because somebody's not happy, right?
Right.
And that happens. You got the Industrial Revolution, you got voting rights, you got black people. What do they do? You know, black people protesting and acting up. They come up with some cockamamie affirmative action and people be quiet and it goes away. You know what I'm saying? So right now, basically, they're going to scramble and do the research and get some scientists. They're going to bargain and go back and forth. They're going to come up with something just to make people happy enough. But the issue's never going to go away. Your NFL is still going to be comprised primarily of minorities. Minorities are still going to be the number one demographic statistically the dementia and mental illness affects. And they're still going to come do so, you know. So they're in a quandary, and I don't have the background to figure out that problem. You know what I'm saying? So he's running the business, and everybody's expendable, and he's just trying to put out a fire, man. And I don't. What do they really care about? Like, we really care about that guy, and we really care about the racial issues and how, since someone took the time to do their research and figured out why this guy was getting denied, now it's an issue. The question is, well, how long has it been going on? Like, how many guys are there that were denied that got nothing, and their wives over there got to remind them what her damn name is? But they got plenty of money, but he can't even. He's nowhere near what he used to be.
Well, Marcus, that's what I'm saying. Like, Roger Goodell is tone deaf to the situation because, again, you're talking about protecting your money, but yet black players, like I said, 70% of the league, they are what's making you that money. And for you to implement some type of testing like that, it's not, you're tone deaf to it, you know. And again, you know, in the NFL, a lot of parents aren't even letting their kids play football anymore because of this. And so eventually, you know, we might not even have an NFL going forward, you know.
Please.
I'm just saying,
you got a lot of people. Like, how many people were upset at the fact that Colin Kaepernick didn't have a job? Did that stop people from going out there every Sunday and playing? No. People are going to get that money. If you become a problem, they get rid of you. But trust and believe that there's somebody behind you that's in a worse situation that is waiting for that opportunity.
No, I get that. I get that. But what I'm saying is that, again, Roger Goodell has had a history of this, man, and I don't understand it, and I don't get why people just, because it's. I just found it disgusting, and I hear you guys' points, and I think that's kind of the issue, right? You know, people, like, we get caught into these norms. I mean, you know, it's just wild, man, because, like I said, we get caught into these social norms, and everything has to be this way, and then it doesn't necessarily benefit us, but we just continue to take it, and I don't understand it, man. Like I said, it's just we're talking about a sport that has been proven to damage your brain. So why is it that you're going to sit up here and put in and put into place something like this to not pay people. And then just to give a little bit of background, it's not a whole, I mean, it's a lot of money, but it's not a whole lot of money when it comes to the NFL. The claims are up to $3 million. What are we talking about here? And it's not like everyone is claiming it. You know, and so again, for me, if you go into a test and then you're telling me that because I'm black, my test scores are already low and therefore now you're going to exclude me from it. No.
I look at it like this. If you take this panel, look at this panel. Marvin, you played basketball at a high level. I played basketball at a high level. Marcus, you played football at a high level. How many injuries have you had, but you were still willing to go out there and endure because of the end product? I'm going to get this degree. I'm going to see something out of it. And I'm going to keep subjecting myself to this pain, this hurt, because I see something else and I've got to provide for the future.
Say what?
True, but I think that's instilled in us.
Come on, we got like 5 minutes. We're already late. So
when we're going through Little League and stuff like that, like you pay through the plan. Keep going on. And 9 out of 10 times, sometimes we're making it worse on ourselves. In a long run, in a short run, if you would just let your wrist heal for 2 weeks, you wouldn't have had to go through the pain that you went through in 6 years. You know what I'm saying?
That's another point that I make, is that the fact that you guys are willing to do this, and then to be told at the end that you sacrificed your body, but because of my race, I'm not going to get paid. Like that's just unacceptable, man.
Oh, that's bullshit for sure. It is. It definitely is. And like you said, with the way things going on now, maybe like you said, they'll come up with a union, or maybe put somebody that's highly skilled and highly educated as an African American in that position. You know what I'm saying? Because I always notice, man, we think people are watching and understanding, but sometimes they just don't care and really not really paying attention because they really don't care about it. So what that aspect is, we think sometimes they're being naive, or people are being naive about stuff, but guess what? If you don't care about it, you ain't being naive to it. It's just something you don't want to pay attention to.
And we got to stop getting caught up in the distractions. Colin Kaepernick brought great awareness. He kneeled, did all of this. So what was the answer? Roger Goodell brought in Jay-Z. He brought in Jay-Z. How many times has Jay-Z been tackled? How many interceptions has he thrown? How many touchdown passes has he thrown? Jay-Z is in the NFL.
Because he's an influential person in the African-American community. That's why I say everything that's done has always got an underlying message to it. You might think it might mean some good, but it's always an underlying message that goes with everything. And it's like you said, the world it's a scary world right now that we're living in. Just off of one of the phrases I seen on Instagram the other day is basically it was saying people don't understand how important it is to leave the house and come back to the house, especially being an African American male, because there's so much adversity, so many things that we have to go through in life that we might not make it back home. You know what I'm saying? And me, Craig, me and you have these conversations all the time, man, but it's really going to take, like you said, what Craig said, it's going to take LeBron and a Jay-Z and I can't think of his name, but he's like one of the top lawyers that's African-American who's a millionaire right now. And like you said, just sit down and say, you know what, here go a union, or here goes something where we can try to help the African-American community. Because at the end of the day, like both of you guys said, we're taking that 70-80% toll in every sport. I mean, not every sport, but the main sports, football, basketball, and that's probably the two top ones, you know what I'm saying? That it's mainly African Americans. And the reason why is because, like you said, us growing up in a neighborhood in poverty, that's the only way we can see out. You know what I'm saying? I can use myself for a prime example, man. Growing up, Derek Coleman, Steve Smith was like, they were coming back to the neighborhoods and driving in Range Rovers, driving in Mercedes Benz. And so at that point, it's like, you know what? I got to take basketball serious because I want to come back and do the same thing. But on the flip side, I can look at, I'm not going to say his name, but he's one of the top drug dealers in the neighborhood. And guess what? He ride around in the same stuff that Smitty and DC riding in. So it's like, which one do I want to do? This one seemed easier because I'm in the neighborhood. I see people getting money fast, but then on the flip side, it's like, people don't understand that hard work and that dedication that Smitty and DC had to put in, where they had to eliminate themselves from situations so it wouldn't blow up, or the countless hours in the gym. You think like, shoot, do I really want to do that? Hurt my arm, break my leg, concussion, or do I want to go this route, the easiest route? You know what I'm saying? So it's just so much that in African American community we need to change as a whole to prosper, if that makes sense.
I'm gonna say something controversial here. Can't believe I'm gonna say this. In my opinion, I think we're still slaves.
Mentally, I can see it.
Oh my God, it's funny you said that.
No, let me just rock this. Let me just rock this. I think we're still slaves, and the reason why is that this is how I compare it. We're the field, right? We're still subjected to police brutality. You know, we get hit, you know, we get put in line, but we're working to try to make it in this country. Our celebrities, those are the house slaves, right? You know, they get preferential treatment. They're less likely to maybe get caught up in police brutality. And I just feel like we're getting used, man, you know, and I don't see why we don't see this, you know, and I don't know if I'll keep this in here, but, you know, because I'm going to go on to another topic real quick, just to make a parallel, is that, you know, with this music industry, man, and this rap music, you know, if you think about it, mostly Caucasian people are getting paid off the pain, death, and stories from the inner cities. And like you guys said, when we had the topic about the N-word, you know, you can't tell me, you can't call me or talk about black on black crime when people of Caucasian ethnicity are getting paid from and making millions and billions of dollars off of it, normalizing it. And then we had a comment on there that says it's sad to see black people defending, you know, Morgan Wallen. And I think it's sad that black people are not speaking up or speaking out about the fact that this is what it is. You know, who cares if he said the N-word? You know what? Because at the end of the day, most black people, and again, I don't even know who this guy is. I didn't know who he was until you told me about him, Vince. So, you know, if he says the N-word, he knows we're in a society now where he knows that that is an issue. But don't take it away. And the reason why I do agree with you, Vince, don't take it away from him. Let the people take it away from him. And the people that still support him, then we know what they are. And that's the end of it. But we shouldn't enter that business. We shouldn't care. Again, and then we talk about the N-word and all of that. And you talk about how it comes from a place of hate and all that. But I don't know that even matters anymore. If I ever get called that, I don't care. Guess what? Most likely the person who called me that, I'm doing better than you. You know what I mean? Like, because that shows your ignorance. You know, so I don't care what somebody says. What I care about is the fact that people are being used, man. Our people are being used in this country, and it's still happening to this day. You want to talk about, it's just the landscape has just changed. The visuals have changed. You know, we're not picking cotton, we're not getting whipped by overseers or anything of that nature. So that's why I just get so passionate about it, is because I don't know, like I said, I see this view of the world, and it's just like, you know, we have so much to offer, but yet we're always taken for granted.
Well, I think you absolutely should put that in. Don't edit that out. And I also think you found our next topic where we go live and have a discussion, because I think your views are brilliant and beautiful, my man, for real. Seriously. I mean, it's true. We're still slaves.
All right, looks like we lost Marcus, but we kind of got all over the place on that. But again, I mean, if you guys watch this, you make it to the end, you know, go ahead and make comments, you know, good or bad, just trying to keep it respectful. You know, we respect everybody, respect everybody's opinion. Make sure you subscribe. And like I said, we want to go ahead and we want to make this goal of 500 subscribers, you know, going into the spring, and then maybe make it by the 1,000, make it up to 1,000 by summer. So, you know, like I said, we want to keep bringing you guys this content. So just, like I said, please subscribe, like, share. That's the best thing that you can do for us, you know, to support us. You guys got anything else?
Yeah, I want to end with this too. And I know I said this on a segment, probably the last one we had. man, just treat people right, man. No matter what their race is, their nationality, what they like, what's their favorite color, man. Just treat people right, man. That's one thing in this world, man. People so selfish and so get caught up in their own little situation that they don't think about the next person. Man, we all gonna agree to disagree, but as long as we be respectful and treat everybody with kindness and happiness, I think this world will be a better place.
100%.
Yeah, 100%.
Saying I respect you guys. I'm glad to be on here with you. Love.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
My producer, pull from the hip 4/5, I'm the shooter. Dog, I do ya. But the two don't discriminate, cause I shoot the guy next to ya.
I ain't heard that podcast.